here we go. All right. So thank you for doing this, Scott.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I know who you are, so who are you?
Scott Sauber, talented theater teacher of 18 years at Slidell High School. Local actor, director, designer for the New Orleans theater community, but also the Slidell community.
Okay, yeah. We worked together a lot in the last couple of years,
Mhm.
and I love working with you.
Oh, thank you.
I do. We know each other from UNO.
Mm-hmm.
From many, many years ago.
Mhm.
You look exactly the same. We joke that you're Peter Pan and Carlisle Cullen. You know, you just reinvent yourself every couple of years.
I'll keep that. I'll take that.
You'll take that. So, before UNO,
Mm-hmm.
did you always know you wanted to be in theater?
No, a teacher. I've always wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
Growing up, I had a classroom, I had an office, I had files, I had stickers, I had attendance charts, I had school supplies, I had glue and tape. I always wanted to be a teacher.
I can see this.
At UNO, I was studying general studies because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
As a high school kid, I was involved in my church and youth group and very much a church kid and retreats and conventions and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until the summer before my senior year that I saw a show and went, I want to do that. So that's when I started this theater thing. So even in college, I wasn't a theater major. I started out in general studies. I worked with local actor Gary Rucker on a school production because I loved being in school. And he said, do you know how to use a screw gun? I said, sure. He said, do you know how to use a sewing machine? I went, sure. So that's how I got started with sewing and building. And then it was through Gary that I got involved in theater at UNO because of Little Shop of Horrors. They needed someone who was willing to build the plant, make the plant, spend their Christmas holidays sewing and gluing. So I did. And then I changed my major and stuck with theater and done it ever since.
Awesome.
And I was just fortunate enough that Debbie Lafort, who runs our program, was at UNO at the same time
Yes, I
and said, I'm
remember.
looking for teachers. And I went, teachers? I want to be a teacher. So it all worked out serendipitously all at the same time.
That's great. That's great.
So this is what I want to do, the teaching gig.
the teaching.
This is what I love.
But you're so good at the directing and the producing thing. And I mean, I've been in shows where the director literally, you know, stereotypical director sits in the audience and just like gives notes.
Right.
You are the director, producer, costume designer, lighting designer, sound designer. You're up in the scissor lift, giving me a heart attack. You know, you're everything. I mean, you're futzing with the scenery and everything. I mean, and in any other person, you would think that was a control freak, but with you, that's just you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think you've always been like that.
Yeah, I think part of that is, I tell my students, if you want to be good at this, be good at all of it. Learn how to sew, learn how to paint, learn how to do some lighting so that you're indispensable. And so for me, in that environment, it's not so much I have to have my hands on everything. It's I want to make sure everybody knows this is how we do it, and this is how we're going to do it. And if you see me do it, then you can do it. And, you know, I tell them, I'll never ask you to do something I'm not willing to do.
Awesome.
So if it means tweaking scenery, being on the scissor lift, doing a set change, I want to be there with you, supporting you, making sure you're good at it too.
Leading by example.
Exactly.
Yes, that's amazing. Because, like I said, a lot of directors will just literally sit in the audience and just.
Yeah, I can't sit still.
I know that.
I can't just take notes. I got to get up and do them.
One of my questions was actually, how much do you sleep at night?
That's a good question. It depends on the year. 2015, not at all. As I'm getting older, I'm finding I'm a little more responsible. I can go without sleep. I tend to do well creatively with little sleep. It tends to feed me. But I do like to rest, you know. I do hopefully get a normal night's sleep. It depends.
Yeah,
when it's showtime, I like to stay busy.
Yeah, because, I mean, I know that we'll leave 10, 11 o'clock at night. And we'll
I'll
come
be
back.
getting started.
Yeah, we'll come back and it's like, oh, the floor's been painted.
Yeah.
Scott's been here.
Yeah.
Till 4 o'clock in the morning, I bet.
Now I've gotten more and more responsible about it, though. I guess I know my tricks and my shortcuts because I'm more efficient now than I used to be, but I have more product now than I used to get.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't put in an all-nighter in a long time, but I know how to get what I need out of what I've got, and I think that just comes with experience.
Yeah, just working smarter.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. So you've always wanted to work with kids then?
I think so.
Yeah, and you're so great with them.
Oh, thanks.
You know, I mean, I've got videos of you working with the little bitty ones, you know, at the show, and then of course like the junior adults,
Right.
like here, you know, because they're not quite adults, but they're still kind of kids, you know,
Mhm.
here in the high school. And you're just so good to them. The way you talk to them, the way you relate to them, and everything. I'm in awe. The one kid that left his costume, and you just kind of said, okay, and you just hid it from him.
Uh-huh.
That was amazing. Um, let's see. So you've always wanted to be a teacher.
Yep.
That's never changed.
No.
Never changed. Okay.
Now, for a while, at the end of high school, I was thinking youth minister, but I tell people now I've ministered to more youth doing what I do now than I would have if I were at one church or in one school setting.
Yeah.
You know, I'm out in the community and I teach and direct probably about 2,000 kids a year.
Yeah.
And they change. Every year it's new. you know.
So yeah, you're touching lots of lives. Lots of lives. So drama was not always in the cards. It was
No, but if you look back, you know, there was 6th grade where I put on the Cabbage Patch album and taught my sister and brother a dance number, and we made scenery, and we did a show on Christmas Eve. You know, if you dig back, it's all there.
It's there.
It is all
the
there.
The seeds were there.
Yes. When we did the talent show for my youth group, I had curtains and a curtain call and notes and a directing book, and it was always there.
It's there. It's there. Okay. All right. So you inspire me. You really do. You know, I love just watching you. There was one Friday night, and you know, Friday nights of the show, you know, you're super high energy. I don't know how much more high energy you can be, but I remember I was talking. I looked at Naomi or whoever was there, and I said, I need Scott to come to my house every morning to get me out of bed. Because you just get energy out of people. You just get. It's just amazing how you can do it. And again, in another person, it would be like, oh my God, you'd be like totally side eyeing them because it's so, you know, it'd be fake. But with you, it's so genuine. You're just a high energy, motivating person.
Thank you.
Who motivates you?
Ah,
Who inspires you?
that's a great question. You know, I have this best friend in New Orleans that a lot of people have trouble with because she, I think, likewise is high energy and just always on. But you know, she brings out something in me. Her name's Peck, and when we're together, while I feel like I have to do a lot of parenting and responsibility and teach her, you know, there's something about her youthful energy that feeds me. You know, at a moment where I feel defeated or like I just don't have much left, she's the person I'll go to, because it doesn't have to be theater related. She can just fill my soul.
Awesome.
And I think it's because there's a very much like simpatico, youthful approach and almost carelessness, but carefulness to her that I feed off of it.
That's great. Yeah, we all need people like that in our lives. Yeah. And that's why I told you, I said, I don't care what's going on. If I get called for a Scott show, I will do it because I just want to be around that energy, you know, just kind of like let it just kind of rub off on me.
I think part of that is my church upbringing. You know, when I started doing this, it very much was a place where everyone belongs, everyone gets their fair chance, there's no risk. And so when I approach a production, I want everyone to feel comfortable. I want everybody to feel free to do it. I want everybody to be willing to take a risk, put themselves out there, do something daring and challenging, and not worry about being judged or the outcome, or, you know, because I want everyone to feel protected but also free to try.
Yeah.
And so I hope that transmits even to people not in the show, people that come to sit in the orchestra pit, or people that just attend a rehearsal one day and go, oh my gosh,
yeah,
I want to do that. But it's because it's how I was brought into it. I wanted to do what they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
it is very inclusive. And I mean, Shrek was just the perfect show for
It
that
was.
too, you know,
It
because
was.
it's all about whoever you are, you're perfect the way you are.
Yep.
That's awesome. Now you're skydiving.
I am. This is my new obsession.
So is that something that you would have ever done? You would have ever thought you would have done like 20 years ago?
Never crossed my mind. But when I was turning 40, I said I want to do something
Crazy.
new,
New.
something I've never done before. So I signed up by a family to tandem jump, my 2 brothers and a good friend of ours. So we went, and unfortunately the sun set before we all got to jump, which meant, we have to come back another time.
Oh, darn.
Done. So I went back another time, did another jump, and said, I might as well sign up for the next one. And the little energy has perpetuated itself, because now certain people are like, well, I want to give that a shot, and I'll go with them. So I tandem jumped a whole bunch, and on my last tandem jump they said, you might as well train yourself. So all by myself, about 4 weeks ago, I went and I got trained. I'm now a solo jumper.
That was the one where you did the backflip with
Mhm.
and the.
Yep.
Oh
and
wow.
The forward flight. Yep.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, I can totally see Scott Sauber jumping out of a perfectly good airplane because I mean, this is the guy that jumps up on the scissor lift and gets on the rails and
Right.
climbs up, and I mean.
I'm a Cirque du Soleil act. I love it.
You are a Cirque du Soleil act.
And it's something, I was telling another friend of mine, it's you by yourself. It's, you're in control. It's super quiet. It's peaceful. And you're truly somewhere where humans can't go, that you just, it's quite a, like, natural feeling. The quietest thing I've ever done.
Really?
Wow.
I have two very vivid memories of you from UNO. One of them is kind of a generic kind of conglomerate, and one of them is one very specific memory. The specific memory is 1999 spring, Kiss of the Spider Woman, and your character did what?
I mooned the audience. That was a run for a little while. It kept happening no matter where I was. It was like, why am I this guy? But I do remember that, yes. Now, that was a time in my life I was doing my own show that I had written and was producing and making it happen. I was working on the children's show down at Le Petit at the same time, and I would show up at Kiss the Spider Woman rehearsal at night. And because we were in prison cells, I would sleep in my cell during rehearsal. Get up when I had to get up and do what I had to do, but that was the only time I had to sleep.
Oh my goodness.
But that was part of that learning curve of I was working all night and all day trying to make theater happen for other people, and
Yeah.
So I had 3 shows in one weekend during Kiss the Spider Woman.
Oh my gosh.
Where I was just,
it's like,
carving
time to
it
get
out.
up and moon the audience.
Exactly.
All right, here we go.
Exactly.
Drop trowel. Yes. That was a great show.
It was.
I enjoyed that show. And then the other one is like I said, it's a generic kind of vague conglomerate memory. We'd be in the green room. We were always in the green room because, that's where we hung out. And there was this guy that would come in and out from the back, I guess, where the costume shop was.
The scene shop.
The scene shop.
Yeah.
The scene shop. And there was this skinny guy with kind of like this very determined look on his face. And he was like a little bit gaunt, and he had a cloth on, like a head rag. And that was you.
It was.
That was you. So, what was that? How was that?
Spring of 1997, I was in some pain. I didn't know what it was. I told my parents, something's not right, but I'm okay, but something's not right, but just keep an eye on me. We were working on a summer show at UNO, and I took a fall. The person I was working with dropped some scenery on me, and I ended up in a weird situation where I was bent over backwards with a heavy platform on top of me, and after that I couldn't stand up. So I spent about 2 weeks hunched over in immense pain, not knowing what was going on. And of course, 21, who needs to go to the doctor? What, health insurance?
And I'm a guy.
Right. So I couldn't stand up. I assumed I had some sort of hernia. I'd done some sort of damage. I'd never been to a doctor about any of that before, so I had to go get a checkup. And they started poking around and feeling and, let's go give blood. Let's pee in this cup. Let's take these samples. And here I was, the summer of 1997. Had graduated college, but was still working there because we were doing a show. And, I was all by myself when the doctor came in and said, you've got some kind of cancer. There's protein in your urine that's indicative of some sort of tumor. We need to do some investigating, but we also need to do some surgery, and we're going to need to do some tests. So here I was, 21 years old, by myself, finding this out.
Yeah.
Within 2 weeks, I'd had surgery, had a tumor removed, and was told chemo would be necessary, but just as a preventative measure. I was working on a show, so I said, well, can we prolong do I need to start the chemo now, or can I wait 2 months? And they let me wait 2 months. So I directed my first major musical that I'd ever worked on, dyed my hair all different colors, and in September 8th of 1997 started chemo. But never felt defeated. I always felt like this is the next step in the road. Let's get through this. Just cure it. Let's go. Let's move on. I had family members that were panicked and worried and had literature and all that. I didn't want all that. Just fix it and let's move on. So Thanksgiving of 97, I had all the ports removed and blood work was done and things were going to be okay, and I sort of moved on. In the spring of 98, something wasn't right. I could eat something and feel like it wasn't digesting. I could just tell something wasn't right. So in 1998, I went back into surgery, more blood, more work, more tumors, I didn't have to do any more chemo, though. They never really figured out what it was.
Mm.
They brought my case before the tumor board at Oxnard Baptist. You know, I'm still in contact with that doctor. It's been almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And they still don't know what it was. So they took out my lymph nodes, had major surgery again, and then have just been coasting since then. But I'm 19 years clean. I have seen my doctor, and he has said, you know, there's no better case than this. There's no better textbook. You know, I've got some scars, and I've got some history. Thankfully, there's something in the chemo drug that doesn't let you remember a lot of that.
Really?
I couldn't drive. I couldn't read a newspaper or magazine article. I couldn't read a book. Couldn't focus.
Yeah.
But also can't remember it.
Yeah, they do say you get chemo brain.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know what it tastes like, and I hate it. I don't wish it on my worst enemy. It's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
There were days I would have to get dropped off at the hospital. I would do a week on, 5 days in a row, and then 2 weeks off. But in those 2 weeks, I would go in and get spot checks or one treatment here, one treatment there. So, I mean, it was a 3-week ordeal 4 times in a row. There were days I get dropped off, and I figured if I just keep walking and walk right out the exit door at the back of this hospital, I can keep going. Nobody will know I didn't do it. You know, so there were hard days. There were days, I mean, I spent a lot of time on the couch.
Yeah.
You know, there were days I didn't want to see anybody. There were days where, you know, I felt okay. I think part of that is why I feel I do what I do. I've been given a whole second chance. You know,
Yeah.
I've been to hell and come back.
Yeah.
And I got to share. I got to give. I can't waste this time, you know.
So what brought you back? You're gonna make me cry. What brought me back? What brought you back when you were thinking, I'm gonna walk through and I'm gonna go straight from the entrance to the exit?
I don't know. I guess I could see a light at the end of the tunnel. There was a very important meeting in my life in 1990, probably early 99, where my dad, who was one of my heroes, said, I need you to go see a family friend. He wants to talk to you. I just need you to go see him. I had no idea what this was about. I walked into his office. He's an attorney. And he just said, well, what have you been doing with yourself? And I said, well, I've been sick. And he said, yeah, okay. Well, what are you going to do now? And I said, I don't know. I've been sick. And he said, and what are you going to do now? Well, I don't know. And he said, okay, what are we going to do? We're moving forward. What are we going to do? And it was that person to me that went, all right, that's done. It's time to go. It's time to go. And that's where I, you know, said, well, this opportunity to teach has opened up, and there's this production I can work on, and there's this. So I sort of jumped back into life. And that's when this teaching career for St. Tammany started.
Mm-hmm.
It's because somebody said, all right, now what?
Now what?
You're not sick anymore. Now what?
Yeah.
You know, so when I started this back in 1999, I was fresh out of all of that world of treatment craziness. So, and this is year 18 for me.
Year 18. So it really has, I mean, you seem like you've always been like this human dynamo, kind of grab life by the cojones.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like that diagnosis elevated that
I think so.
even more in
I
you.
think so. You know, I say I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but I don't regret one moment of it for me.
Because
You know.
it shaped.
Yeah. For my family, it was definitely a moment of, we're going to get through this. We have no worries. Let's just do this. You know? It was tough on my whole family. You know, I can look at my brothers and sisters and my parents and see really the hell that 1997 was on all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of me, but I was a piece of that. And I think we're all stronger and more solidified now.
Yeah.
My older brother got married, moved. My younger brother went away to college. My sister was a senior in high school, putting her own self through hell. My dad took a job in Connecticut for himself, but was coming back. It's just, this was a great job. He had to take it for a year and a half. And here was my mom and I at home alone. All of a sudden I'm sick, and then the dog got sick. So there was very much this like, wow, 1997 threw us into a tailspin.
Yeah, it's like, you know, the saying, what is it, you know, God doesn't give you more than you can handle,
Right.
but I wish you didn't think I could handle so much.
Exactly.
You know, yeah, it's like, okay, and you don't want to say what's next because,
Right.
you know.
But you know, a year later, everybody was home, everybody was back, and everybody is stronger.
So it was like my year from hell.
Mm-hmm. But I don't regret a moment of it.
Yeah. But I like
I
how
would take it for someone else before I give it away, though, because it's hell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's everything I've read. It sounds like it. You're just.
And I knew I was coming out on the other end healthy.
Yeah.
You know, for someone who doesn't have much hope, I can't imagine what it is putting yourself through.
Yeah.
I worked at a smoothie store when I was diagnosed, and it was twin sisters that owned the store, and one of the sisters had died from breast cancer complications the year before, and so here was this other twin watching me undergo this, just baffled as to how do you tell somebody it can be okay when you've lost your twin. And at the same time, her dad had some complications, and he elected for no medicine, no treatment, no surgery. I don't want to live my last year sick, knowing what my daughter went through. And here I was going, I have to accept this, I have to do this, I have to put myself through this. I knew I had high hopes, you know.
Do you think that your positive attitude and your belief, your absolutely unshakable belief that I am going to come out of this well and alive, do you think that had an effect?
Definitely. I think that echoed through my parents as well as myself. Yeah, I didn't want to know all the details.
Yeah, I like that. You're just like, okay, this is it. This is what we're going to do.
Right.
And
the people who have the answers know the answers. I don't need to understand it.
I don't need to know every single detail.
Do it.
Just, I'll show up at the clinic
Right.
on Monday, and there we go.
Yes.
You really are. I'm not going to cry.
Me either.
You really are, not just for this, but everything else. You really are just an amazing, inspiring person.
It's
Scott.
good to hear that. It is good to hear that. 2015 was not a good year for me. I don't know if it was turning 40. I don't know if it was, my own life situation. I've always wanted my own kids. I don't think that's a possibility at this point in my life. Being my age and still single and my situation, I lost a lot of weight and underwent, my brain wasn't where it needed to be. And I ended up back at the doctor in 2015 going, something's not right, And they took good care of me and just said, we're going to get through this. And here's some medicine, and here's what you need to know. Why don't you go talk to somebody? And, it took 2015, another year of what's going on in my own world for me to get my feet back on the ground.
Yeah.
I still felt like I had to be here at school. I had to produce. I had to put on shows. But if you ask me about the details of those shows, there's very little I remember because I was in a fog myself. It was for the first time where I felt like I was doing the work because it was expected of me, not because I enjoyed being there and doing it. And that was a tough place to be. But, it sort of proves that it is precious to me and I will fight to get it back because I had to go through hell again to now appreciate what I've got once again.
Yeah.
I think it's just a normal cycle of life.
Yeah.
And I needed some help. There was a point in my life where I needed the help.
Yeah.
So it is good to hear that people from the outside say, wow, even after, 16 months of my going, I don't feel good anymore. People going, but still look,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's good to hear that.
Yeah, and it's good to know that even superhumans like you sometimes need help and sometimes have bad days or bad months or bad years. So thank you so much, Scott.
My pleasure, Kim. My pleasure.
Stop you.